Hello, everyone. This is Stacy. Welcome to the landing. Hello and welcome back to the landing, everybody. I have a special guest here with me today, and he's looking over his shoulder at who I'm talking about. When you hear his voice, chances are you'll know who he is. Let's get him to please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, who's your crowd, and where are you from?
Well, my name is James Gordon Salter. Everybody knows me as James Gordon. People look for James Salter, they can't find me. Lenny and Shirley were my mom and daddy. Foy Lewis, Ari Lewis, that was my daddy's mama and uncle. Willie B. Guthrie, they called him Wed, and Willie Irvin Guthrie was my mama's daddy and brothers. Mm-hmm. Where am I from? Well, my granddaddy Wed was raised what we call Charlie's Pond, just east of the horse pen to the banks, in a whaling drum.
In a whaling drum?
In a whaling drum. He was raised in a whaling drum.
Wow.
My grandmama Hannah, I'm not exactly sure where she came from. That was my granddaddy's second wife. Mm-hmm. His first one died. And he married Grandma Hannah, and she'd been married to John Nelson, which was Hannah Ray Beasley, mm-hmm. George Linwood, Uncle Horace.
Yeah.
That's where I'm related to the Nelsons at.
Okay.
Now, my grandmama Foy was raised in what we always called the Mullet Pond, mm-hmm. which was the west end of Shackford Banks that's pretty much washed away now with the hurricanes and stuff. My granddaddy, Sammy, my daddy's daddy, Sam Salter, was from Atlantic, but they moved there from Portsmouth when he was just a little boy. Mm-hmm. So I guess you could say I'm Carteret County through and through.
Through and through.
I've traveled halfway around the world, and the prettiest place I've ever seen is Cape Lookout. Matter of fact, I think it's so pretty.
There you go.
That I've got a tattoo.
Yep.
Of the lighthouse.
Of the lighthouse. It's a pretty sight, isn't it?
Yep.
Especially if you've been away for any length of time, you come back and see it. Yeah.
Yeah, we went to Chicago, and coming back home, Mom and Daddy been up there. We had them in the car, and we hit North River Bridge, and you smelt that marsh.
Roll that window down.
She said, "Roll that window down." I said, "Lord, honey," said, "ain't that the best smell?"
Yep.
That I smelled since I left here. Said, "I'm home now."
Home now. I do that even when I went to college. When you come back, turn there by East Carteret Corner, roll down that window. I need to smell that mud.
It ain't quite the same now, but no. Like it used to be.
No, but it still smells good.
But it still smells good.
It does. Well, I am tickled that you're here with us today to talk a little bit about your life experiences, and especially we're going to focus on hunting and decoys and, something you know a little bit about.
A little bit.
Just a little bit. So I'm going to ask you, if you will, think back and share some stories or experiences that you had hunting as a child. Like, when did you start hunting, and go from there?
Let me start.
You start anywhere you want
when I was in the second grade.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Patrick Willis. Latham was his.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick tragically got killed in a car accident early high school. We were in the second grade, and Patrick was a duck hunter. Well, we talked about it, and one day he said, I bought something I want to sell to you. And he brought me a little factory-made hen bufflehead decoy
Oh, wow.
that I've seen 2 of them in my lifetime. I kept that one until, for years and years and years, I hunted over it. Mm-hmm. I kept it for years and years and years. And I loaned it to the museum when they had the little place down beside the rescue squad at the medical center. And some son of a she-dog stole it.
So it got gone.
It got gone.
Uh-huh.
But I used that and made a pattern and made my first duck decoy when I was in the 2nd grade.
Wow.
And my daddy said, it don't look like a bufflehead, it looks like the decoy you got. So my daddy showed me how to make a bufflehead decoy. And he said, why do you want a decoy? I said, because I want to do some hunting. Mm-hmm. Well.
And you're about 7 years old, second or 3rd grade?
I started a little bit late because I was born in November, so that put me a year behind everybody. So I was 7, 8 years old.
7 or 8, still young, yeah.
Well, I kept playing, messing. What I asked my daddy for Christmas that year was a little coping saw.
Oh.
It cost $1.25, and the blades you got, I think it was 5 of them, was like 10 or 15 cents.
Oh, wow.
And I'd go to the boathouses, and I'd go out there, and I'd take that little coping saw, and I'd make me a head. And I got some heads up, and we used to take the corks out of life jackets. Mm-hmm. It was about, I guess, maybe 6 inches wide, about 1 foot long, and cut that in 2, put a piece of wood on top of it, put a head on it, and then shape it up and make a decoy out of it.
Oh, that was genius. It would float.
Yep. And if you made a fishing duck decoy, mm-hmm. you just sharpened the tail of it, left the front of it square, made a head and put on it, and didn't even have to paint it because it was the same color as a hen fishing duck.
Oh, my goodness.
So, anyway, years and years went by, and finally, one year, he bought me a 410 bolt action single shot. You didn't have a clip in it, single shot, and we started duck hunting.
Wow.
We went to, he took me to Middlemarsh and built a little blind, and that's where I killed my first ducks at.
Wow.
Was Middlemarsh.
You and your dad?
Me and my daddy. Mm-hmm. Got a story to tell. I don't know. I've told it before. It was on one of the tapes that they made.
Mm-hmm. Do share.
But we were there. It was late November, early January. It was one of them cold northeast winds. We went over and it started spitting a little bit of rain. Mm-hmm. Well, my mama was scared for me to be in that duck blind by myself. Mm-hmm. So we had it was made out of bushes. We had an old wooden fish box. The old wooden fish boxes, the ones that weighed about 50 pounds.
Yes.
In there for a seat. Well, I had on my daddy's chest waders, and they weighed too big for me, and a coat. Well, Mama had on a pair of my hip boots sitting on that fish box.
She was out there with you.
With a coat on. Daddy was standing in the boat with a pair of knee boots on and no coat because Mama had his oilskins. Uh-huh. Well, as things would happen, there was a couple of ducks came in. We killed some ducks. Daddy was up in the marsh. He'd take the boat, go pick them up, come back.
He was your retriever.
He was my Lenny retriever.
Yeah.
As things happened, the tide started rising. Well, as the tide rose, it came up to the top of the fish box.
Uh-oh.
And my mama was sitting there with a pair of hip boots on. I was sitting there with my waist boots on, and them waves are breaking across that.
Oh, no.
And Daddy was in the boat with a pair of knee boots on.
Uh-huh.
So finally Daddy says, you can't stay here no longer. And he come around, and we put the boat up there and just got decoys out of it and got in and got home. But I'd killed some ducks and like to have froze my mama to death. She sat there, and you know what that was doing. And
Yes.
she's sitting face to it, and them breakers coming through them bushes, hitting that fish box and going right up her. From her chin down was soaking wet.
Things we do for our young'uns.
And from her knees down was dry.
Oh,
But
yeah.
she was soaking wet.
Shoo.
How she didn't freeze, I don't know.
And she didn't complain.
Not one time. Not one time did she say, we come home, cleaned the duck, and she cooked them for supper that evening.
Bless. That's a mama's love right there.
That was when I was, I must have been 10 or 12, 13 by then.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
I wasn't in high school yet. Mm-hmm. And I had that old single shotgun. Well, Daddy started letting me shoot his old double-barrel shotgun. It was a Fulton Special. It was the first shotgun that ever came to Harker's Island that didn't have hammers on it.
Oh, wow.
It was bought by Abbott Salter, and Daddy got it from him. Mm-hmm. Charlie Russell got one too. It was the second one. There was two of them. Mm-hmm. Well, he let me shoot that some, and I got where I was pretty good with it, but it was an old gun, and I ended up I needed something better. For Christmas, he said, got you something special coming Christmas. Now, my mom and daddy wasn't rich people. My daddy had worked on a dredge boat for years and years and years, and had got disabled and started living off of Social Security. Mm-hmm. Well, for Christmas that year, when I went out there, I had a Ted Williams 20 gauge pump gun come from Sears Roebuck.
Oh, me.
He paid $89 for that shotgun.
Oh, my goodness.
Which back then was a lot of money.
Yeah.
A Browning automatic shotgun at the time was $140.
Wow.
I wanted the Browning, but I couldn't get it.
Right.
So I got the pump gun. Well, we spent Christmas at the Banks. And right east of our camp, there was a little ditch that made up in there, and then there was a big mud flat. And there was a little marsh lump that was growing up there, and it was just right from the camp. I could crawl to that marsh and shoot ducks out there.
Uh-huh.
Well, we were sitting there, and Daddy said, there's ducks out there, them decoys. I got down, went down there, crept on down, and it was some teal. Well, I shot the teal, loaded my gun back up, and there was a big bunch of fishing ducks lit. One time I was shooting, and I got shooting, and I killed, there was 3 of the teal and 4 or 5 fish ducks. They started drifting off. Well, they were going across the flat. Well, I went across the flat, and there was some more fishing ducks come landing in decoys. My daddy, he was half crippled. He had multiple sclerosis and cystic fibrosis and arthritis and a little bit of everything in the world.
Yeah.
And he got down there on his hands and knees and crawled down with that old double-barrel shotgun and got just right and stuck the gun through the little bit of marsh and pulled down on her on one of them fishing ducks made out of cork.
Ah!
And that was some laughing. We just kind of wrote about that.
I bet so.
But took them back to the camp. Mama started cleaning them. Rectly, here come another little bunch down there. And at that time, I may have been an outlaw. I may have killed over a limit. I'm not sure.
Not admitting to anything.
I'm not sure because it's been so long ago.
Uh-huh.
But Anyway, we eat them that night.
I admit and deny nothing. For
And
sure.
we eat them and brought them home. We used to bring fishing ducks to the women on the island or ducks to the women on the island, and they'd give you 2 gun shells.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a box of gun shells for that 20 gauge gun was over $1.
Oh, wow.
So if they buy me 2 gun shells,
Mm-hmm.
I was healed.
Mm-hmm.
And I used that little pump gun for some time, and then later on in life, like I was in high school,
Mm-hmm.
about senior year, I guess. I got old enough that I went to the banks and on the Conch Shoal and Conch Shoal Marsh and Bell's Island Marsh, I put 3 blinds up.
Mm-hmm.
And Manus Folcher had a Browning, 12 gauge, standard, 2 3/4 inch, with a 26-inch barrel on it that he wanted to sell. Well, I picked up bottles, I done odd jobs, I done everything I could do, and I paid him $120.
Wow.
The price of the guns had gone up to $209 then.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So you got a deal.
So I paid him $120 for that gun. Clarence Willis give me a box of gun shells, said I want a mess of ducks. He let me use his flounder net pump to put stakes down. I had 2 stake blinds and 1 on the marsh. Now, the Conch Shoal Marsh was right in front of the horse pen.
Okay.
There's a stick sticking there now. But before, when I had a blind on it, it was big enough that I put a blind on both sides of it, a bush blind on one side and a box blind on the other, because you couldn't shoot across it.
Oh.
And now it's completely washed away and gone.
Wow.
But anyway, I got in that blind out there, and here come the ducks around. They struck around, they come like they were going to light, and I shot, bam, 1 fell, bam, 1 fell, bam, 1 fell. Loaded back up, the other one turned around, flew around and come back, and I shot it. 4 brant.
Oh, wow.
First brant I'd ever seen, first brant I'd ever killed.
Mm-hmm.
But I killed 4 brant there. And of course I killed some fishing ducks, and Norman Hancock had a pound net set behind me.
Mm-hmm.
And the wind northeast, well, I shoot anything, I just let drift a pound net, and then I go pick it up later.
That was genius.
So I didn't have to keep getting up in and out the blind.
Yeah.
And but the first box of shells I shot in that Browning shotgun, I killed 26 ducks
Wow.
out of a box of 25.
Wow.
I used to be, when I had eyes, I used to could shoot a gun.
Uh-huh. Oh my goodness. And so all you had to pay for those box shells, you just shared some of your ducks with them?
Yeah.
That was a good deal.
I give, well, a lot of the people had gun shells because some of their family and stuff shot loans and stuff like that, which that's a story we won't get on that.
Admit or deny nothing.
Well, according to the legal records at the courthouse, I don't know how long they keep them. I can't deny nothing there. But anyway, that was a story for another time.
For another time.
But most of them had gun shells, and you go there and you carry them 5 or 6 dippers, and they give you 4 or 5 gun shells.
Yeah,
two or three fishing ducks, they give you a gun shell.
I mean, that's a meal. That's good eating.
And well, $1.25 a box. Even when they got up to $3 a box, that's 6 cents a piece.
Yeah.
Now they're $1 a piece to shoot a gun.
Yeah.
$1, $2, depending on what you got.
Exactly.
But
when you went hunting, the decoys that you used, did you make them?
I had to.
Mm-hmm.
The only place you could get a decoy was Norman Hancock. He made some. He took a piece of plywood and made a silhouette out of it, and took some styrofoam and glued it on the side of it and shaped it up and painted them like little blackheads.
Oh.
And he had some mallards that were made out of paper mache. Victory, paper mache.
Mm-hmm.
I never seen a mallard and core sign or back sign. What do I need for a mallard decoy?
Right, right.
Well, he charged, I think it was 75 cents a piece for them little decoys.
Mm-hmm.
I can go to the boathouse and get them stuff and make them cheaper than that.
Yeah.
So I started making my own decoys. My Uncle Willie made decoys. My daddy made decoys. My daddy used to hunt with Clarence Willis's son, Ronnie, the one that got electrocuted.
Yeah.
Down there on your granddaddy's dock.
Yep.
He showed me how to make some heads. Matter of fact, I got a couple of little decoys that Daddy made.
Oh, wow.
But that's how I started making decoys.
So that's what got you started in decoy making.
And I made decoys, well, since I was second and third grade.
Mm-hmm.
And one of these days I'm going to get one as good as my Uncle Willie did.
Yeah.
My Uncle Willie, anybody know Willie Guthrie said he had a reputation of telling things that wasn't true.
Mm-hmm.
But he said he painted 2 black duck decoys and put them on the back porch to dry. Said they looked so real, the cat knocked the head off of one of them and it scared the other one and it flew off.
They look pretty real then. They're pretty real.
I ain't got that good yet. Now, Carl Huff may have been that good, but I ain't got that good yet.
Oh, me. Oh, bless Mr. Carl.
But I am not a decoy carver.
Mm-hmm. Now tell us the difference.
I'm not a game bird carver.
Mm-hmm.
I don't carve birds. I don't carve ducks. I make decoys.
Right. And there's a difference.
There is a difference. A decoy, it's not sanded, it's pretty, it don't have any feathers on it, don't have any rays this, it don't have any rays that. It's painted simple, there ain't no fancy feathers put on it, no nothing. There's a weight goes on the bottom of it, a place to hook a string, and you throw it overboard and hope that something comes by there and looks at it and you shoot it.
Yep.
You can take $1,000 fancy carved decoy, put it overboard, and take one of my decoys and put it up there. And when it's blowing about 25 or 30 miles an hour out northeast and that duck flies through there, it's either shame on him or shame on me.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's shame on him because he got too close, or shame on me because I missed him.
Mm-hmm.
He cares nothing about that fancy stuff.
Right.
Matter of fact, that fancy stuff, if it gets cold and icy, the ice will build up on it. A lot of these factory decoys you get, the Flambeau, Victory, Herders, when it gets cold and the ice starts forming a little bit on the breast, directly it'll form on its breast, and then it'll start dripping off of its nose, and then you'll look and its tail will be stuck in the air, and then directly it'll flip over.
Uh-huh.
Ice will melt off, it'll come back. Well, people say that's good action. Not if there's a duck comes up there.
Right. Not at that, yeah, wrong time.
Wrong time.
Yeah. So I want you to think about, I guess you maybe got a phone call. Who asked you to come to Daddy's birthday party? You know what I'm talking about.
Well, after I'd been living in Newbern, me and my wife had lived in Newbern, and I'd been making decoys. My next door neighbor had a bandsaw and a shop back there, and I got some cypress out of an old water tank that they tore down in Newbern, and I made some buffalo head decoys and stuff. And we moved back to the island, and I built a shed, and I was making some duck decoys and stuff. Not selling any decoys for fun. Well, Kurt Salter, Uncle Kurt, no relation whatsoever. I dated both his daughters. Love them like family.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, never did anything I shouldn't have done.
They're so good.
But just we were family.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, Valerie, we used to call her Valerie Rose, the prettiest flower that grows.
I love Val.
But and Jenny, I went junior senior prom with Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
But
She's sweet too.
I'd go up there, and he was making decoys, and he was selling a few and stuff. And of course, David Lawrence, me and David duck hunted some together. Uh, Norman Hancock, I'd bought decoys from him. Uh, your daddy, when he lived up there where Captain's Choice was,
Yeah.
I went up there and he was making some little miniature decoys, and I made some little miniature decoys. I was still a young'un
Right.
then. I was still a young'un then. But anyway, moved back up there, and I believe it was Kurt said, "Look, says, we're going to a decoy show in Currituck. You want let's go?" I said, "Sure." So we all piled in the separate cars. Kurt, Wayne, David, me, Norman Hancock, and Gregory Lupton went up there. Sometimes we were in separate cars, but sometimes we'd ride together. Well, we've been up that, and they start talking about one in Chincoteague, which David had been up there with Cigar Daisy, and we went up there. And this went on for a couple of years. I started putting decoys in the float tank. Made a brand, carried it Currituck, got an honorable mention. Wow.
Wow.
Wow. And that led to another side of the story where I got to where I like to put them in the competition as the working decoys. Well, it got to where working decoys got to be fancy decoys, and I said, I ain't doing it. So that's the reason I quit.
Quit doing that.
But anyway, we were coming back from Currituck. Miss Mary always had Norman on a diet.
Yep.
And it was me and Norman, David, and Wayne. And Norman said, we got to stop eating so hard. So we stopped eating to a Golden Corral. And I thought the woman was going to ask Norman to leave.
Because he ate so much.
That man was starved out. But coming home, he said, you know, we could start a little show or do something like that down our home. Said they got a Carver's Guild, and we started rolling around that went on for a couple of years. And finally, he said, look, we're going to start a Carver's Guild. So we got this fellow named Carl Huff that knows about doing a Carver's Guild. We're going to have a meeting at Wayne's house. Don't eat. Lana's going to cook supper. Okay. So we went up there, and that was the first time I had ever laid my eyes on Carl Huff.
Yeah.
And my first impression is that's the most arrogant, hateful man I've ever met in my life. And I said, I don't know if I'm going to do this or not. Me and him's going to have trouble. Well, after I got to know Carl, Carl was one of the nicest, best-hearted individuals I've ever met. And Boo, bless her heart, I love her so good.
Oh, yes, they're such good folks.
And I was real disappointed at the weather when they was having the memorial for Carl, that I couldn't get down there to see Boo.
Yeah.
But the last time I saw him was at the museum at the 25th or 30th. I forgot which anniversary it was that they celebrated. I was the featured carver for but that was, they had all of us there.
Yeah,
that was the last time I saw Carl.
Yeah.
And her, and I hugged them and loved them and told them, I said, if we don't ever see again, just know I love you.
Yeah.
And we did. But that got us in, and we sat down and we eat. I reckon conservatively, I was about 6 foot tall. At that time, weighed 350, 360. Didn't eat any lunch that day because I was busy doing something. And if I had to say, I know I ate a half a gallon of clam chowder.
It weren't bad either, was
I
it?
don't think it was. I thought, yeah, at least a half a gallon, maybe closer to a gallon. But
That's funny.
but I could eat then.
Mm-hmm.
And we discussed what we were going to do and how to do it. And Carl explained to us how it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if I'm not mistaken, we each put $15 in
Mm-hmm.
to start the fund.
Uh-huh.
And Carl said, let's see if we can find a place to meet and everything. And we set up the guild that night, got our charter going. Mm-hmm. Well, we set up, we were going to have a meeting, and we started making phone calls, expecting maybe 8 or 10 people. Well, the first night there may have been 8 or 10 people showed up. Next night there was 25 or 30 showed up. The next meeting there was 40 or 50 showed up. And directly it got to be boom.
Yeah.
And we discussed having a show. Now, I don't think any of us, I know I didn't, had any idea at that time what we were starting.
Yeah. Oh, no. No idea at all.
Had no idea.
Because if you did, you might not have done it.
I started saying, if we had, I'm sure that part of us wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Because
well, it was very much out of a lot of their comfort zones. I mean, think about some of those gentlemen that you said, you know, they wouldn't have done that.
yeah, people that never been out of Carter County, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Didn't want to. Yeah.
Didn't feel comfortable around people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But we started to have a show. And it's, without being said, it started to grow.
Yeah.
To the point that it got out of hand.
Mm-hmm. In a good way, but yes.
In a good way.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
And it about worked everybody to death.
Yeah. Yep. It was a lot.
And things went on and on and on and on, and it started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We started with a gym that we didn't have completely full, to a gym full, then a classroom full, then another classroom full, until the whole school was full.
Yeah. Oh, such good times.
I mean, and it just got wild, crazy, fast.
Yeah.
In another thing we did, me and your daddy, fellow was talking about the line getting in was meters long.
Yeah, because it would go to the road and beyond. Yeah.
I had no idea what a meter was. So I said, how big is that in feet or boat sticks?
Yeah. Right. So I can understand.
So I can understand, you know. But and the amount of dollars that has been put on Harker's Island, whether it be decoys, gift shops, gas, restaurants, grocery stores,
Yard
sales.
Yeah.
What it has done to it. I'm sure that some of us wouldn't have done it.
Yeah. But oh, I'm so glad y'all did. So glad.
Well, it got going good, and I don't remember who brought it up. It may have been Wayne. It may have been somebody else. But they got talking about the Ward Brothers Museum.
Mm-hmm.
And they talked about, why don't we start collecting some of our decoys and have it like a little museum? Mm-hmm. Well, that was a little bit more than what some of our capabilities was.
Yeah.
And I think Karen was working with one of the newspapers or Mullet Wrapper or one of those little papers or something. And Wayne said, let's call her down here and have a talk with her. And that was the best move that ever happened to the museum, was when we called Karen.
Yeah.
And, well, you can look around here. We're in the library at what happened from that telephone call.
Such a beautiful thing.
That telephone call.
Yeah.
And you think the museum's not known. I was talking to a man down in Louisiana and told him I was from Harker's Island. He said, "Oh yeah, I've been to the museum."
How about that?
He went down to the museum. I said, "Well, you probably saw my picture and some of my decoys
Yeah.
in there."
I'm in there.
I'm in there.
Well, I am so sorry to say that our time is up, and I could talk to you for hours and hours. So that means
We'll have to do this again
that's
sometime.
exactly what that means. Will you come back?
Yeah. What are we going to talk about next time?
I bet you $1 million we can find something to talk about. What do you think?
I ain't going to take that bet.
Because you'll lose.
I lose. Because I love to talk.
Uh-huh. Well, I do too.
I love to talk to you.
Mm-hmm. I do. I love you.
I love you too.
I appreciate you being here.
Well, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to sign off.
Okay.
If you were 10 years older and I was 10 years younger,
you'd still be too old. Well, thank you so much, and I'm going to hold you to it. You're going to have to come back, okay?
Stacy, I love you.
I love you.
I love your family. I love your mom and daddy.
Yeah, we're blessed, aren't we? No, you behave, and we'll see you soon.
Take care. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What a fun conversation with Mr. James Gordon. He always makes me smile. Please join us next week as we conclude our conversation about decoys with none other than Mr. Wayne Davis. You have heard him mentioned a lot this month, so we thought it was extremely fitting that you hear directly from him. Until then, stay safe and be kind.